y'all so much. I wanted to come on today and talk to you guys about our math lesson. Yesterday, we talked all about metric units of length. Today, we are going to talk about the metric units of capacity. And if you guys remember from the customary system of measurement, capacity is the volume or the space inside of a container, okay? Remember, capacity and the amount are not the same because I'm sure you guys know if you have something in a container, it's not full all the time because we use the product or we drink the fluid or whatever, we use the shampoo, and the amount will change over time. Okay, so the capacity is the total space that an object can contain within itself. So today we're going to be looking at just two units to measure capacity. We are going to be looking at the base unit and then one that is smaller, 1/1000th of that unit, okay? So let's get started. So our words to know, we have bottles, we have an eyedropper. If you guys have ever had any kind of eye infection or anything fun like that in your lifetime, you may have had to have an eyedropper to like have medicine dropped into your eyes. I know Winston, when he was a puppy, when he needed medicine, I had to give it to him with an eyedropper sometimes, and it was measured the same way. And then the milliliter. So the drop that comes from any kind of dropper, like I have a serum right here in front of me that is used in a dropper. If I suck up that liquid by squeezing that like squishy top, when I drop one drop out of that, that one drop is not a milliliter, but 20 of those drops. So if you guys have any kind of eyedropper in your house and you want to visualize what a milliliter looks like, you could take that dropper, suck up the liquid into it, and then put 20 drops into a cup so that you can get a real clear visualization of what a milliliter actually looks like. And then we also have the base unit for the metric system of capacity, and that is the liter. And I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that term. I know my mom and I actually got pizza last night for dinner, and we ordered soda with it, and it came in a 2-liter bottle of soda. So if you guys have one of those 2 liters, that's that big container of soda that you would get that you would share with your family. If you guys have one of those, half of that is equivalent to 1 liter, okay? So let's get started.
How do you measure capacity with metric units? Think about this question during the lesson. Here are 2 metric units for measuring capacity. 1 milliliter, 1 liter.
Okay, so just remember, 1 milliliter is equivalent to 20 drops. So this whole thing here, I'm assuming can hold 20 drops. So that's why they're saying that this is equivalent to 1 milliliter. And then 1 liter, again, visualize that as half of that big bottle of soda.
An eyedropper can be used to measure 1 milliliter. Think about the capacity of a 1 milliliter container. Why wouldn't you use a milliliter eyedropper to measure the amount of water in a lake?
All right, so down at my dad's house in Georgia, in front of his house, he has this huge pond. It's so large, I actually call it a lake, even though it's not quite classified as one. I've named it Lake Lowson, and I would not want to go out there and sit there with my little dropper that looks like this to measure all of the liquid within the lake. Why do you guys think that I wouldn't do that? Why would it be inappropriate for me to measure the capacity in metric units with this milliliter dropper of that big old lake? Oof. It's because it would take way too long. It's an inappropriate unit of measurement because it would take me literally my whole lifetime to measure that out, okay?
It would not make sense to measure the amount of water in a lake with a milliliter eyedropper. The number of milliliters would be too large, and it would take too long to make the measurement. The capacity of some water bottles is 1 liter. Look at this bottle. How much liquid can this bottle hold?
Okay, so
Let's find out.
if we look at this big jug right here, this big bottle, do you think it would be more appropriate for us to measure the capacity of this bottle using the milliliter eyedropper or using the liter jug? Gonna hang out like Dora the Explorer for a second. If you're saying the liter jug, you are absolutely correct. And again, just like the lake, it's because the milliliter is too small of a unit for us to make that happen, okay? It would take 1,000 drops from here to fill this container. I don't know about you, but do you want to sit there and drop 1,000 droplets into this container? I don't know. Even in quarantine, I think I've got more things to do with my time.
First, you must choose the most appropriate unit of measure. The milliliter is a very small amount. It would take too long to fill the bottle with a 1 milliliter container. Why will it take longer to fill the bottle using a 1 milliliter container than using a 1 liter container? Since the bottle is large, it would take longer for the smaller 1 milliliter container, the eyedropper, to fill up the bottle drop by drop. The best unit would be the liter.
Just so you guys have another point of reference for the liter, if you have a 32 ounce fluid ounce, that would be the customary system. So I'm jumping here from system to system just to give you guys a visual. About 33 ounces is equivalent to a liter. So if you have a 32 ounce bottle of water, you guys can kind of visualize that as 1 liter as well, okay?
Now that you have chosen the appropriate unit of measure, estimate to see how many liters of liquid it would take to fill the bottle.
Oh, I miss doing this where we all make our estimate around the room. So let's look at this liter and try and visualize how many of these we think could fit into this container. So take a second and visualize. If you filled this all the way up and dumped it in, filled it up, dumped it in, filled it up, dumped it in. Let's see.
Visualize how many 1 liter containers it would take to fill the bottle. A good estimate for the capacity of the bottle is about 2 liters.
Nice.
Now you can measure. What is one way to measure the amount of liquid that can fill the bottle?
Okay, so what they're literally asking you is how can I figure out how many liters are in this bottle? Well, one thing that we could do is we could literally fill up our 1 liter container all the way to the top and then pour it in and count it. 1. Fill it up a second time, all the way up to the top, dump it in. 2. Fill it all the way up a third time, maybe, dump it in. 3.
You can fill the liter container with water and pour it in the large bottle. Do this until the bottle is full and count how many liters were used. How many liters were used?
2 liters.
2 liters were used. The bottle has a capacity of about 2 liters. How could you find a more accurate capacity? To find a more accurate capacity, use milliliters.
Now, a smaller unit is always going to be more accurate because you're able to get closer to that exact number, okay? So unless it's an exact multiple of the unit that you're using, you're not going to get an exact, but the smaller the unit, the more accurate your reading is going to be, generally speaking.
Now you know how to use metric units to measure capacity.
All right, let's do our quiz. Hang tight. We're going to use that in a second. Let me stretch this and try and make it as big for you guys as I can. All right, so metric units of capacity. Which is the most appropriate unit? Most appropriate, that's what we're focusing on there, to measure the capacity of a sink. Okay, so if I look at these answer choices, I have milliliters, centimeters, liters, and meters. Whoa, 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 whoa. Two of those choices don't measure capacity, they measure length. So right away, y'all, I am getting rid of centimeters and meters because meters is the base unit for length and centi is 1/100th of that. So we're eliminating B and D right off the bat. So our two units of capacity here are milliliters. And remember, that's what comes out of that little tiny eyedropper. 20 drops is equivalent to 1. So just to get to 1 milliliter, I have to drop my dropper 20 times versus a liter, which is about half the size of that big bottle of soda that you guys so commonly see all over the place. So if we're measuring the capacity of our sink, and let's visualize the sink in our classroom so that we all have an equal point of reference, okay? If we visualize our classroom sink, would it be more appropriate for me to sit there with my dropper and measure it, or for me to use something about the size of my hydro flask? What do you guys think would get me to my answer quickly and efficiently? If you're going with C, liters, you are absolutely correct. All right, number 2 says, which is the most appropriate unit to measure the capacity of a bottle of nail polish? So, for those of you that have never seen nail polish, it's a teensy tiny little bottle. So, would it be, again, if we look at our answer choices, two of them measure length. Centimeters is gone and meters is gone. So, I only am between A and C. Is nail polish smaller or, is a bottle of nail polish smaller or larger than half of that container of soda? It's a lot smaller. So it would make no sense for us to use liters as an appropriate unit for measurement. So we must use milliliters. So we're going to go with A. Actually, I think I do. I have a bottle of nail polish right here. And just for fun, I can see if it tells us on there what it is. Well, this one is actually 13 and 5/10 of a milliliter. So in my entire bottle of nail polish, that's what's in there. Just a little fun fact for y'all. Let's look at number 3. It says, which would be the most appropriate tool to measure the water in a bird bath? So now you guys saw what I had up for you guys just a minute ago. If you don't know what a bird bath looks like, I want you guys to look over here at this one. I want you to forget about all these over here. I want you to look at this one because you can kind of visualize how large it is. So if I was standing next to this, it would probably come up to about my hip in height, and it has this nice big drum here that there is water that birds can go in and splash around and get a nice bath going, okay? So that's what I want you guys to visualize for that. So if we were trying to measure the capacity, all of the water that is in that bird bath, would it make sense for me to use a medicine dropper, which is your milliliters, measuring milliliters, a liter measuring cup, which would be about half the size of a bottle of soda, or about a 32-ounce water bottle for visualization, a meter stick, definitely not, that measures length, or a 30-centimeter ruler, again, that measures length. So these are both gone. What do you guys think would be most appropriate? How would I get to that unit faster? Now, I get it. A bird bath is kind of small. But remember, it takes 20 drops out of that dropper for me to even get to 1 milliliter. That is a lot of drops. That takes a lot of time. So even though a bird bath is not huge, it's still the best unit to measure in liters. So we're going to go with B for this one. Number 4 says, which number would be greater? The number of milliliters of punch in a cup, the number of liters of punch in the same cup, the number of liters of punch in a jug, or the number of milliliters of punch in the same jug. Okay, so I am first comparing a cup to a jug. Which one of those is going to be larger, 1 cup or a jug? And I want you guys to think about a jug kind of like a gallon. So I'm asking you, in the customary system of measurement for capacity, what is greater, 1 cup or 1 gallon? If you're saying 1 gallon, you are correct. So right away, I'm going to eliminate the cup options because they are both way smaller than a gallon. So they are not going to give me the largest number, okay? Because even if I was using a smaller unit, even if I was using milliliters versus liters, it's going to take me a lot less milliliters to fill a cup than it is to fill a gallon, okay? So now we're between liters in a jug and milliliters in a jug. And this goes back to what we talked about on that very first day when we were talking about measurement with our tool of the ruler. If we have one ruler, it represents 1 foot, one small number, foot, large unit, and it also represents 12 large number, inches, smaller unit. So remember, it takes more of a smaller unit to fill the same space. So we need to pick the one that has the smallest unit. So what is a smaller unit? A liter or a milliliter? If you're saying milliliter, you are absolutely correct. And the last question for today is: all plants and animals, including people, need water to live and grow. Which is the most appropriate unit to measure the amount of water a dog drinks in one day? Okay, we're talking about my boy Winston here. Now, you might think Winston's a small dog, Miss Lawson. I don't think he really drinks that much water. Well, y'all, let me tell you, that boy drinks about as much water as his mama, and y'all already know Miss Lawson drinks a lot of water. So, if Winston is drinking as much water as his mama, do you think you would want to measure the amount of water that he drinks in a day using that milliliter eyedropper? So, literally 20 drops for 1 milliliter? Or would you rather measure the amount of water that he drinks in a day in a liter container? If you're going with liter container, I absolutely agree with you, okay? Milliliter is a smaller unit, but it would take literally forever for us to measure that out. All right, so drum roll, let's check it out and see where we are at. Have our quiz graded. We got them all correct. So you guys are all set. What you're going to do now is you are going to work on the practice page P14-7, metric units of capacity. And I want for you guys to take your time on this. Really think about what units are going to be the most appropriate. Remember, the milliliter is 20 drops from an eyedropper. A liter is about half the size of that soda bottle, that 2-liter soda bottle, or about a 32-ounce bottle of water that you may have at home, okay? I miss you guys. I'm proud of you guys. When you're finished with your P page, please make sure you remind your parent to send it to me via Dojo messages so that I can check your work for you and give you any feedback that is necessary. I'm proud of you every single day. I love y'all. I'm here for you if you need any help. Mwah. Take care. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.